Hello students, very good morning. So in previous video we completed pteridophytes, isn't it? So where you have studied the general characters and classification of pteridophytes. So in this video I'm going to explain about the next group of plants, that is the gymnosperms. Okay, so let us begin with the general characters of gymnosperm. What are gymnosperm and what are their characteristic features? Okay, so let us start with the gymnosperms. Okay, see, gymnosperm, the name suggests gymnosperms. The next group of plants are gymnosperms. See, these plants which are more advanced when compared to the pteridophytic plants. Okay, so with many features, and these plants which are truly adapted for terrestrial habitat, or truly they are adapted to survive in the land condition. Okay, so before that, why the name gymnosperm is given? See here, if you split the term gymno and sperma. Okay, see, gymno means naked. Gymno means naked and sperma means seed. Gymno means naked and sperma means seed. See, then what are gymnosperm? The plants which bear the naked seeds. Those plants which bear the naked seeds. So they are considered as, or they are called as gymnosperm. So once they bear the seeds, no, they comes under the division that is spermatophyta, or they comes under the division spermatophyta or phanerogams, isn't it? Or phanerogams. They comes under the division spermatophyta or phanerogams. Again, sperma means seed. Those plants which bear the seeds, they comes under the division spermatophyta or phanerogams. So you know the classification of the plant kingdom. So where it is broadly classified into two divisions, cryptogams and phanerogams, isn't it? So where cryptogams includes algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. So where we have completed cryptogams. Okay. The next group is about the phanerogams, where the plants which reproduce by bearing the seed, isn't it? So where gymnosperms which comes under the phanerogamia, phanerogams, it means they are producing the seeds, or they comes under spermatophyta. So that is also the similar meaning. Sperma means seed and phyta means plant. The plants which bear the seeds, they are considered as spermatophytes. Both the gymnosperms as well as the angiosperms, they are nothing but the spermatophytic plants. Okay. So, but the gymnosperms, they bear the naked seeds. That's why they are named as gymnosperma. Gymno means naked and sperma means the seed. So, gymnosperms, they can be also considered as phanerogams without ovary. Gymnosperms can be considered as phanerogams. Phanerogams, they can be also described as phanerogams without ovary. Without ovary. Gymnosperms can be also described as phanerogams without ovary. What are phanerogams again? They are the seed bearing plants. Okay. These plants are phanerogams without ovary. See, these gymnosperms, they do not bear the fruit, or they do not bear the ovary. What is a naked seed? A naked seed is a one which is not covered by fruit wall. Which is not covered by fruit wall. So unlike the angiosperms, here the seeds are naked. They born naked on the sporophylls, without covered by the fruit wall. That's why they are without ovary. So what is the link between the ovary and the fruit wall? Because after fertilization, no, ovary that develops into fruit. Okay, the wall of the ovary that will become the fruit wall. The ovules become the seed after fertilization, and the ovary that will produces the fruit, and the wall of the ovary that produces a fruit wall. So you compare with the angiosperms, where the seeds are protected by means of the fruit wall. You take an example of a mango fruit. So where the seed inside the mango, that is highly protected, and it is again covered by the flesh, and outside again covered by a thick leathery skin, isn't it? So where that is what is called as the epicarp, and the middle one, what the edible portion in mango, that is nothing but the mesocarp. It is it juicy? No, it is mesocarp, and again an inner hard one, the stony one, that is what is called as the endocarp. All together constitutes the fruit wall. The outer layer, ಅಂದರೆ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಸಿಪ್ಪೆ ಅಂತೀವಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಿಡಲ್ ಒನ್, the fleshy, the edible portion, the mesocarp, and the inner one, stony. Okay, so all together constitutes the fruit wall. But such fruit wall or ovary is absent in gymnosperm. That's why the seeds are said to be naked. Okay, and gymnosperms, they includes about 70 genera There are about 70 genera and about 725 species. The living species can be seen in gymnosperm. 70 genera and about 725 living species can be seen in gymnosperm, but most of them they are fossils. But nowadays the living species and living genera, about 70 genera and about 75 living species can be seen in gymnosperm, and they are mainly distributed in the tropical and temperate regions and even in Arctic regions also. Gymnosperms were mainly distributed or mainly found in tropical regions, temperate regions and even in Arctic regions also. Okay, so let us look into the general characters or characteristic features of the gymnosperm. Okay, see, the plant body of gymnosperm, it is sporophyte in nature. The plant body is sporophyte. You remember from the pteridophytes onwards, the plant body in other groups of the plants like pteridophytes, gymnosperm and angiosperm, it is sporophytic in nature. The plant body is sporophyte, no doubt it is diploid. The plant body is sporophyte, no doubt it is diploid in nature. Okay. So majorly gymnosperms are truly adapted for terrestrial habitat. They are truly adapted for terrestrial habitat and they are xerophytic in nature. They can survive in low quantity of water or they can survive in scarcity of water. Okay, hence they are considered as xerophytes. They are terrestrial, truly adapted for land. They are xerophytic in nature. It means they can survive in scarcity of water or with a less amount of water in the soil. Okay, as I said, they are distributed in temperate and tropical regions. They are distributed in temperate and tropical regions and even in Arctic regions where we can see the gymnosperm, and even in the Arctic regions. Okay, and the plants may be shrubs or trees. There are no herbs. Remember, there are no herbs in gymnosperm. The plants may be shrubs or trees. Okay, and the sporophytic plant body is mainly differentiated into root, stem and leaf. The sporophytic plant body is mainly differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Okay, so then the gymnosperms, they have taproot. A very well developed taproot system can be seen in gymnosperm, just like taproot system. The gymnosperms, they have taproot system. Okay, a well developed taproot system can be seen in gymnosperm. It is just like the taproot of the angiospermic plants, especially in the dicot plants. Okay, so where the gymnosperms are having taproot, and these taproot, they have either association with the symbiotic cyanobacteria. They have symbiotic association with cyanobacteria like Anabina or Nostoc, especially for example in the coralloid roots of cycas. The coralloid roots of cycas. So where we can see roots of cycas, where we can see the symbiotic association of Anabina and Nostoc, or they have mycorrhizal association. They have mycorrhizal association. They have mycorrhizal association. So what is this mycorrhizal association? Mycorrhizal association is nothing but association of fungi with the roots of higher plants. Okay, that is what is called as mycorrhiza. Association of fungi with the roots of higher plant is what is regarded as mycorrhiza. And these gymnosperm, they have mycorrhizal association. Some of the plants, for example like pinus, where the roots of pinus, they are having mycorrhizal association. Okay, so whereas the roots of cycas, especially the coralloid roots, they have symbiotic association with cyanobacteria like Nostoc or Anabina. So where they are found within the roots, which helps in fixation of atmospheric nitrogen, and also the mycorrhizal association. So that also helps in absorption of essential elements from the soil and also absorption of nutrients, especially the nitrogenous source. The fungi will provide the nitrogenous source. Okay, so the roots are taproot. They have some association, especially the coralloid roots of cycas, where we can see Anabina or Nostoc, and mycorrhizal association can be seen in the plants like pinus. Okay, then the stem is erect. It means it stands on the soil. The stem is erect. The stem is erect. Then it is aerial. The stem is aerial and erect. and it is branched. The stem is aerial and erect and it is branched. It means it is found above the surface of the soil. It is standing on the surface of the soil and the stem is branched. But exception, it is unbranched in cycas. The stem is unbranched in cycas. The stem is unbranched in cycas, and whereas it is underground, stem is unbranched in cycas, whereas it is underground and tuberous. The stem is underground and tuberous in a plant called as Zamia. The stem is underground and tuberous in Zamia, in a gymnospermic plant called as Zamia. But whereas in the other members of the gymnosperm, the stem is aerial. Aerial means it is found above the surface of the soil. It is erect. It is standing on the surface of the soil, and it is branched. But stem is unbranched in case of cycas. Okay, and stem is underground. It is tuberous in plants like Zamia. Okay, and the other character in gymnosperm about the presence of leaf scars. Presence of leaf scars. This is the characteristic feature of gymnosperm. Presence of leaf scars is a characteristic feature of gymnosperm. Okay. Okay. So what are these leaf scars? Leaf scars are nothing but they are the spots which remains on the surface of the stem even after falling of the leaf. ಅಂದರೆ ಲೀಫ್ ಬಿದ್ದೋದ ಮೇಲೂ ಆ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಲೀಫ್ ಇರೋಂಥ ಮಾರ್ಕ್, ಲೀಫ್ ಇದ್ದಂಥ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಹಾಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ರೆಮ್ನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಲೀಫ್ ಈವನ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಲೀವ್ಸ್ ಬಿದ್ದ ಮೇಲೂ ಲೀಫ್ ಇದ್ದಂಥ ಸ್ಟೆಮ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಲೀಫ್ ಇರೋಂಥ ಜಾಗದ ಮಾರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಹಂಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇನ್ ಕೋಕೋನಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ನು ವೇರ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಮಾರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್, isn't it? Even in arecanut also, where you can see marking. So those marks which indicates the previous leaves. It means even after the leaves fall away, the marks will remain. Okay, so that is what is called as the leaf scars. Throughout the surface of the stem, the gymnospermic plants, they show leaf scars. Okay, so that is the characteristic feature of gymnosperm. Presence of leaf scars on the stem is a characteristic feature of the gymnosperms. Okay, then leaves in gymnosperms, they are dimorphic in nature. Leaves in gymnosperms are dimorphic in nature. They are dimorphic. See, then what are these dimorphic leaves? Dimorphic leaves means there are two kinds of leaves can be seen in gymnosperm. Two morphologically distinct. Di means two. Morphic means morphologically distinct. There are two morphologically distinct leaves can be seen in gymnosperm. So, what are those two distinct leaves? See, the normal foliage leaves. Normal means normal photosynthetic foliage leaves. Normal foliage. Normal foliage leaves. Foliage means the normal photosynthetic leaves which are green normal photosynthetic leaves. Normal foliage leaves. They may be needle-like. The normal foliage leaves may be needle-like, or it may be pinnately compound. For example, plants like cycas and Zamia, it is pinnately compound. Okay, or the leaves may be scaly. There are two kinds of leaves can be present. So scaly leaves are not photosynthetic. Okay, the leaves may be scaly, which are non-green in color, which are not photosynthetic, and which are non-green, usually which are non-green in color, and the leaves may be scaly. But whereas in a form, a species, what is called as ephedra, in a plant called as ephedra, where the normal foliage leaves are absent, it consists only the scaly leaves. Okay, so where the normal leaves, it means the foliage leaves are absent, it consists only the scaly leaves, where in a genera what is called as the ephedra. Okay, so then the other feature in the gymnosperm, when it comes to the vascular bundles, it means you know that they are the true vascular plants. When it comes to the vascular bundles in root, the vascular bundles in root, it is ranging from diarch to polyarch. The vascular bundles in root, it is ranging from diarch to polyarch. Diarch means presence of two patches of xylem and phloem. Polyarch means presence of many number of patches of xylem and phloem. Okay, so if it is 6 up to 6 ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನಾವು hexarch ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ diarch means 2 patches of xylem and 2 patches of phloem. Tetrarch means 2 patches of xylem, 4 patches of xylem and 4 patches of phloem, like that. Okay, but when it is 7, maximum is 6, more than 7, it is considered as a polyarch vascular bundles. Okay. Okay, polyarch means many number of vascular bundles can be seen in the root. Many patches of xylem and many patches of phloem can be seen in the root. That is what is called as polyarch. Diarch means two patches of xylem and two patches of phloem. That is the diarch. Diarch, a tetrarch, or hexarch, or polyarch. If they are more than 6 in number, it is considered as polyarch. Okay. Hence, vascular bundles in root, it is diarch to polyarch in nature. Okay. So whereas we can see the vascular bundles in the stem which are collateral, conjoined, and they are open. Collateral, conjoined, and they are open. Okay. Collateral means xylem, which usually that lies towards the inner side, and phloem that lies towards the outer side. Okay, that collateral. Conjoined means xylem and phloem, they are found together in a bundle. Xylem and phloem like this. This is a xylem and this one is the phloem. Okay, xylem and phloem, they are found in a common bundle. They are together forming a bundle. Okay, xylem lies inner side and phloem lies outer side, that is collateral vascular bundles. Whereas the conjoined means xylem and phloem together forming the bundle, that is conjoined one. And open means presence of cambium within the vascular bundle. Presence of cambium. You know what is a cambium? It is a meristematic tissue that mainly helps in secondary growth. Presence of cambium between the xylem and the phloem. So such vascular bundles are said to be open. Open means though in those plants, the plants which are having the open vascular bundles, where we can see secondary growth. Secondary growth is nothing but increase in the girth of the plant body. Okay. So vascular bundles are collateral, conjoined, and they are open, especially in the stem. Okay. So open means presence of cambium. If cambium is absent, such vascular bundles are said to be closed. For example, monocots. Okay. That's why monocots do not show secondary growth because of the absence of cambium. Okay. But when cambium is present, vascular bundles are said to be open. There will be a secondary growth. Okay. Then vascular bundles are conjoined and they are collateral in nature. Okay. Then one of the characteristic feature of the gymnosperms, especially in the cortex of the stem of the gymnosperm, that shows more number of tanniferous cells. Tanniferous cells. This is the characteristic feature, and even the resin ducts or resin canals. So what is this tanniferous cells? So where the cells which are found in the gymnosperm, especially what are tanniferous cells, are nothing but the cells which stores or produce, which secrete tannins. Okay. So where, for example, the turpentine, I think you heard about this. Turpentine is extracted from the pinus. Okay. Likewise, some cells, especially the cortical cells in the stem, they store tannins and resins. By that it can be extracted. Okay. So they are rich with the cortex cells, which are rich with the tanniferous cells, and even with the resins. Resin canals and tanniferous cells are rich. That is the characteristic feature of the gymnosperms. Okay. Then, when it comes to the vascular structures, xylem, that consists of only tracheids. Xylem that consists of tracheids and xylem parenchyma. Xylem that consists of tracheids and xylem parenchyma. Vessels or trachea are absent. Vessels or trachea are absent, exception for the members of gnetails. Exception for the members of gnetails, for example, like gnetum. So where the xylem also shows vessels or trachea. Xylem that consists only tracheids and xylem parenchyma. Trachea are absent, or vessels are absent, but exception for the members of gnetails or gnetum, a plant called as gnetum, where it shows even the vessels also, or xylem that shows the trachea. Okay. Similarly, the phloem that shows only the sieve tubes and phloem parenchyma. The phloem that shows only the sieve tubes and phloem parenchyma. Okay. Phloem parenchyma. Again, companion cells are absent. Companion cells are absent here. Again, the exception for the members of gnetails, that is gnetum. Exception for the members of gnetails, example, a plant called as gnetum, where the phloem that shows companion cells. But in the other members of the gymnosperms, where the companion cells are absent in the phloem, and whereas the vessels or trachea again which are absent in the xylem, but exception for the members of the gnetales. Okay. Then the wood in gymnosperms, it may be monoxylic wood. Wood in gymnosperms, it is monoxylic, it may be monoxylic. For example, like in cycas, the wood in gymnosperm, it may be monoxylic. For example, in plant like cycas, or it may be pycnoxylic. Pycnoxylic, for example, in plants like pinus. Then what is this monoxylic and pycnoxylic wood? See, monoxylic wood means the wood with a rich amount of parenchyma, or the wood with more with the parenchyma and less with the xylem fibers, or less with xylem Okay. So such wood is said to be monoxylic wood. It means it consists of more amount of parenchymatous tissue with a less amount of xylem. Such a wood is said to be monoxylic wood. And these wood which is usually less durable or non-durable, they cannot be used for any purpose like the manufacture of the furnitures and other things. They cannot be used because the wood is non-durable. Such a wood is said to be monoxylic wood. It means it cannot be used as a timber. Okay. So because of the more amount of parenchyma, when xylem is rich in amount, especially the xylem fibers which rich in amount, they gives the hardness for the wood. Such wood can be used for the manufacture of the fibers, or it can be used as a timber, the furnitures, and it can be used as a timber. Okay. So that wood is what is called as a pycnoxylic wood, where it is rich with the xylem and less with the parenchyma. What is a pycnoxylic wood? The wood is rich with the xylem and less with the parenchyma. Such a wood is said to be pycnoxylic wood. It is more durable. The durability of the wood is more. Hence it can be used as a timber in the manufacture of the furnitures and other things. Okay. So such wood is said to be pycnoxylic wood. So durability is more here because of the presence or rich amount of the xylem. But whereas the first one, the monoxylic wood, plants like cycas, where the wood is rich with the parenchyma with the less content of the xylem. Hence it is less durable. Okay. So the wood in gymnosperms, it may be monoxylic or it may be pycnoxylic. Okay. So another important character in the gymnosperms is where the leaves are lacking. The important character in leaves, the lateral veins are absent. See, unlike in angiosperms where the leaves are possessing lateral veins for the lateral translocation of the solutes, but whereas in case of the gymnosperms, the leaves are lacking or the absence of lateral veins in the leaves. Hence, lateral translocation of solutes and other molecules. Lateral translocation means sidewise translocation or lateral translocation of solutes and water and other elements that takes place with the tissue, what is called as transfusion tissue. Remember this, transfusion tissue. So such kind of questions may be asked in CET or NEET examination. So lateral translocation in gymnosperm, that takes place with, especially in leaves, lateral translocation in gymnospermic leaves, that takes place with some options will be given. So that is mainly takes place through the transfusion tissue. This is a tissue found in the leaves that helps in lateral translocation of the solutes in the leaves of the gymnosperm. But because the lateral veins are absent in the leaves of the gymnosperm, hence lateral translocation that takes place with the help of the transfusion tissue. Okay. So when it comes to the reproduction in gymnosperm, the plants are heterosporous in nature. Remember, they produce two different kinds of spores. The plants are heterosporous in nature, where the spores are born on the sporophylls, and sporophylls are aggregated to form cone or strobilus. The sporophylls are aggregated to form cone or strobilus. Okay. So the plants are heterosporous in nature. It means they produce two kinds of spores, microspores as well as the megaspores. And where the sporophylls which aggregate together forming the strobilus, a cone or a strobilus, a compact structure is produced. Okay, that is the cone or the strobilus. So usually the males and female cones are separate. Male and female cones are separate. Male and female cones are separate. Male and female cones are separate. Exception for one genera, what is called as Ephedra. Some of the species of Ephedra, where both the male and female microsporophylls and megasporophylls which are intermixed. It means it can be seen in a single cone. But whereas in the other members, in most of the members of the gymnosperm, male cone is separate and female cone is separate. What is a cone? A cone is a compact structure formed by the aggregation of sporophylls. Okay, that is what is called as a cone. It is separate. Male cone is different. Sometimes it may develop in different plants also. For example, in cycas, male and female plants are separate. Okay, so whereas in case of pinus, male and female cones which develops in the same plant. But whereas in cycas, male plant is separate and female plant is separate. Male plant that bears only the male cones, whereas the female plant that bears the female cone only. But whereas in Ephedra, the male and female cones, the megasporophylls and the microsporophylls, they are mixed together in a cone. So, but in the other members, male cone and female cones which are separate in nature. Okay. So, microsporophylls, microsporangia, remember microsporangia that born on microsporophylls. Microsporangia that born on microsporophylls which are aggregated together forming the male cone. The microsporophylls which aggregate together forming the male cone, and these male cones are short-lived. The male cones which are short-lived. Microsporophylls, microsporangia that born on microsporophylls, where they aggregate together forming the male cone, and the male cones are short-lived in nature. Okay. On the abaxial surface of the microsporophyll, on the abaxial surface of the microsporophylls, okay, means on the inner surface of the microsporophylls, the microsporangias will develop. Okay, so and the male cones which are usually short-lived. Okay, then the megasporophylls, the megasporangium that born on the megasporophylls, megasporangium born on megasporophylls, they born on megasporophylls. Okay, and all of them megasporophylls, they fuse together forming the female cone. The megasporophylls which fuse together forming the female cone, and female cones are persistent. Female cones are persistent. It means they can present for very longer time. They are not short-lived. Okay, female cones are persistent. Megasporangium born on megasporophylls, and whereas female cones which are persistent in nature. Okay. Then number of megasporangium per megasporophyll. The number of megasporangium, it is nothing but the ovule. The number of ovule, megasporangium is nothing but the ovule. The number of ovule per megasporophyll, it ranges from, it is 2 in case of pinus. It is 2 in case of pinus. Okay. Whereas it is many in case of cycas. Okay, it is 2 in case of pinus and it is many in case of cycas. Okay, so whereas only 2 ovules are megasporangium that can be seen in the megasporophylls of the pinus. Like this. Suppose if this is considered as a megasporophyll, where at the base there will be the development of the ovules. Like this. Ovule is nothing but the megasporangium. This is a megasporophyll and these are the megasporangium. Megasporangium is nothing but the ovule. Okay. So whereas in cycas plant, the megasporophylls do not aggregate and produces a female cone. Cycas alli female cone formation agala. Megasporophylls which are freely arranged. There is no formation of female cone in cycas, but male cone develops. Male cone that develops, but female cone will not develop in cycas. Megasporophylls which are arranged freely. Okay, free agi arrange ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ in a plant called as cycas. Okay. So then the number of archegonia that varies in the ovules of gymnosperm. The number of archegonia that varies in the ovules of gymnosperm. There are only 2 archegonia. You know, archegonia is a female reproductive structure. No. Okay. So the same term is retained here also. Whereas Archegonia that has seen in bryophytes and pteridophytes, the same term is retained in gymnosperms also. The number of Archegonia per ovule, it may be 2 in case of Pinus. 2 Archegonias can be seen in case of Pinus, or it may be more than 2. It is more than 2 in case of Cycas. The number of Archegonias will be more than 2 in case of Cycas. Only 2 Archegonia can be seen in case of Pinus. Okay. And the Archegonia of the gymnosperm, that consists only the venter, canal cell. The venter canal cell. It means it consists only the venter and it consists of the egg. It consists only the venter or the venter canal cell, and it consists only the egg. Where neck canal cells are absent. Archegonia, it means I am talking about the female structure, female reproductive structure. The Archegonia that is found within the ovule. It is found within the ovule, enclosed in the ovule. It consists of venter canal cell or a venter, just a venter, and an egg. There is no neck canal cells. Okay. Again, number of Archegonia varies from one ovule of gymnosperm to another ovule. It means from one plant to another plant it varies. Whereas the only 2 Archegonias can be seen in the ovule of Pinus, and whereas more than 2 Archegonia can be seen in the ovules of Cycas. Okay. Where the Archegonia that consists of only the venter and the egg. Neck canal cells are absent here. Okay. And the ovules of gymnosperm, which are unitegmic in nature. Okay, unitegmic means only a single protective covering that can be seen. So, but exception for in case of the gnetum. So, where in gnetum they have 2 tegma, they are bitegmic in nature. It means they are having outer and the inner integuments, 2 layers of protective coverings. But whereas in majority of the gymnospermic plants, ovules are unitegmic. Uni means one, tegma means the covering, protective covering. Only one protective covering that can be seen in majority of the ovules of the gymnosperms, especially integumentary layer. Okay, only one integumentary layer can be seen. Only one integument is seen, but whereas in gnetum 2 integuments can be seen, just like the angiospermic plants. So hence it is bitegmic in nature. And also another feature in gnetum is where the ovule of the gnetum, it doesn't consist of Archegonia, it is represented only by the egg. It is the most advanced member in the gymnosperm. Gnetum is the most advanced member in the gymnosperm. The ovule of the gnetum that possesses only the egg. Archegonia is represented only by the egg or the ovum. There is no venter and venter canal cell. Okay, only egg that represents the Archegonia. So remember that point. So where ovule is unitegmic means they have only one protective covering, that is unitegmic ovule, but in gnetum it is bitegmic. Okay, and this stegma or the integument in gymnosperm, it consists of 3 layers. It is differentiated into 3 layers. Outer, the tegma is differentiated into 3 layers. The outer and the inner. The outer and the inner layers. The outer and inner layers which are soft. The outer and inner layer which are soft or fleshy. Smooth or fleshy. And whereas the middle one is stony, which is hard. The middle one is stony, that is nothing but it is hard in nature. They have single integument. It is differentiated into 3 layers, outer and the inner layers which are soft or spongy or fleshy, and whereas the middle one is stony in nature. Okay, suppose if you write the ovule of a gymnosperm, they have like this. Okay, the outer as well as the inner layers which are fleshy in nature, and whereas the middle layer, the middle one, diagrams are like just I am writing a rough diagram. Okay, the middle one is stony. The outer and the inner ones which are fleshy or soft, and whereas the middle one which is stony. Middle one is stony. Okay. Then gymnosperms, all gymnosperms where pollination is said to be direct. Pollination is direct in gymnosperm. Pollination, this is another characteristic feature. See, suppose if they ask for characteristic feature or salient features of gymnosperm, you write only the highlighted points. It means it is stick to only gymnosperm. Such points we have to write. Okay. So pollination in gymnosperm, it is said to be direct. Direct pollination in gymnosperm. What is this direct pollination? See, direct pollination is nothing but the pollen grains will directly fall on the ovule. The pollen grains will directly fall on the ovule. So that's why pollination is said to be direct. But whereas in case of the angiosperms, no, the pollen grains which are carried by means of various agents, they fall on the stigma, where on the stigma the pollen grains germinate and they produces a pollen tube, and only the pollen tube will enter into the ovule. But not the case in case of gymnosperms, where pollination is said to be direct. That means the ovules, the pollen grains will directly fall on the ovule. That's why pollination is said to be direct. And all gymnosperms are wind pollinating plants. All gymnosperms are wind pollinating plants. Okay, wind pollinating means where the pollination that takes place by means of wind. The pollen grains are released to wind and wind will carry the pollen grain. Okay, a large quantities of pollen grains that can be carried by wind, especially in the plants like pinus. So where in pinus, large quantities of pollen grains will be carried by the wind, and where it is popularly known as sulfur dust. It look like dust of sulfur. Okay, so because of their color, characteristic color. So where the pollen grains in pinus plant, where when they are carried by the wind, it is considered, it is called as a sulfur dust. You remember, such kind of questions may be asked. The pollen grains in pinus, where in large number they release to air or wind. So that is what is called as a sulfur dust. That is in case of the pinus. Okay, pollination is direct, and all gymnosperms are wind pollinating plants. Okay, and pollen grains once they fall on the ovule, no, pollen grains once they fall on the ovule, so even they produce the pollen tube. So pollen tube, they produce the pollen tube. Pollen grains, they fall on the ovule, they produce a pollen tube. Here pollen tube in case of cycas, in case of plant like cycas, it can act as a hastoria. A pollen tube can act as a pollen tube hastoria. Hastoria, remember what is hastoria? A structure that is meant for absorption of elements, especially the nutrients. Here in case of cycas, the pollen tube can act as a pollen tube hastoria, but whereas in case of the pinus, in plant like pinus, the pollen tube can act as a sperm carrier or a male gamete carrier. It can act as a male gamete carrier, similar to the angiosperms. So in angiosperms also, the pollen tube that will carry the male gametes. Okay, similar to angiosperm, in pinus, the pollen tube that can act as a sperm carrier. It means it carry the male gametes. Okay, then the male gametes in gymnosperms, the male gamete in gymnosperms, it is non-motile. Male gametes are non-motile. So compare with the other members like bryophytes and pteridophytes. Even in algae, the male gamete are motile, but here male gametes are non-motile, exception for the plants like, again, cycas and ginkgo. Exception for the plants like cycas and ginkgo. So where the male gametes are motile. Okay, but the other members of the gymnosperms where male gametes are non-motile. But exception for cycas and ginkgo where male gametes are motile. Okay, then the fertilization, the fusion of male and female gametes. So that results in the formation of zygote. Okay, the fertilization, the fusion of male and female gamete, that results in the formation of the zygote, and zygote that develops into the embryo, and here the development is said to be meroblastic in nature. The development of embryo is said to be meroblastic in nature. Meroblastic means only a part of the zygote that will develop into embryo. Only a part of the zygote that will develop into embryo. No doubt fertilization results in the formation of zygote, and zygote that later develops into embryo. So where only the part of the zygote that is involved in the formation of the embryo, hence it is said to be meroblastic. The development of embryo is meroblastic. Okay. So then about the endosperm. Endosperm is in gymnosperm. You remember this point. Endosperm in gymnosperm is pre-fertilized. This is also one of the characteristic features that differs gymnosperms from angiosperms. Endosperm is pre-fertilized and haploid. Endosperm is pre-fertilized and haploid. So then question arises, no, what is an endosperm? See, endosperm is nothing but it is a nutritive tissue. that supplies nutrition for the developing embryo. ಅಂದರೆ embryo development ಗೆ nutrition ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ಒಂದು ಟಿಶ್ಯೂ ಅದು. ಯೂಶಲಿ ಏಂಜಿಯೋಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, the endosperm produced after fertilization. ಫರ್ಟಿಲೈಸೇಷನ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಎಂಡೋಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. Endosperm is triploid in angiosperm. Triploid. It consists of 3 sets of chromosomes. It is triploid. But whereas in case of gymnosperm, endosperm is pre-fertilized. Pre-fertilized means it is present before fertilization. It is present in the ovule before fertilization, and it is haploid in nature. Okay. So that is also one of the interesting feature that differs gymnosperms from angiosperms. Okay. Then the other one more very most common point about gymnosperms is condition presence of polyembryony. A condition what is called as polyembryony. So this is also the characteristic feature of the gymnosperm. A condition what is called as polyembryony. Poly means many, embryony means occurrence of more than one embryos within the embryo sac or the ovule. Presence of more than one embryos in an embryo sac. Embryo sac means the structure found within the ovule that encloses the embryo. Andre ovule ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್. ಏಂಜಿಯೋಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಂತೀವಿ, ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಸ್ಯಾಕ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೇ, ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೇ. ಅದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆಗೆ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ presence of polyembryony, occurrence of polyembryony is the most common character or common feature in gymnosperms. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ because of the presence of multiple archegonia. 2 archegonias or 3 archegonias or more than 2 archegonias can be seen in cycas, no? So all those archegonia they encloses the egg. Then many number of sperms they fuse with the egg, and presence of multiple embryos in the ovule. That condition is what is called as polyembryony. But all of those embryos they do not develop. They do not mature because of the competition between the embryos, the nutritional competition between the embryos, and there will be a competition for the space within the ovule. Hence, all of the embryos do not germinate or do not mature. Only one embryo that will reach maturity. But presence of more than one embryo is a common character in gymnosperm, and that is what is called as a polyembryony. Okay, so that is one of the most common characters of the gymnosperm. Okay, later the embryo that develops into the sporophytic plant body. Here, as I said, sporophyte is a dominant feature. Sporophyte is the dominant feature. It is a dominant one. It is a dominant feature, and it is diploid in nature. The sporophyte is dominant feature, and it is diploid in nature. And gametophyte, that is produced by the germination of the spore, no, where spore they are found within the spore wall. Remember the gametophyte development that is found within the spore wall. Endosporic development, and it is found within the parental plant body. Sporophyte ಮೇಲೇನೆ gametophyte develop ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. So gametophyte is highly reduced. Gametophyte is highly reduced, and it is dependent. It is totally dependent on the sporophyte. Gametophyte is highly reduced, and it is totally dependent on the sporophyte, and it is haploid in nature. Gametophyte is haploid in nature because of the meiotic division that has taken place during the formation of the spores. Gametophyte is highly reduced, and it is dependent feature. It completely depends on the sporophyte, and it is a haploid one. Hence, the gymnosperms they exhibit a clear alternation of generation between a diploid, dominant diploid sporophytic plant on the another one that is the dependent haploid gametophytic plant. Hence, the life cycle in gymnosperm it is said to be diplontic life cycle. It is said to be diplontic because the dominant phase is diploid one, no, that is a sporophytic plant body. Hence, life cycle is said to be diplontic in nature. The diploid dominant plant body, that is the sporophyte. That's why it is said to be diplontic life cycle. Okay, so then the seeds in gymnosperms which are covered by a seed coat. The seeds are covered by, because there is an integument, no. Seeds are covered by seed coat. Integument ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ seed coat formation ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ integument. But fruit wall ಇರಲ್ಲ. Remember, ovary is absent. Hence there is no fruit wall. That's why seeds are naked. Okay. Seeds are covered by seed coat and encloses 1 or 2 cotyledons. Encloses 1 or 2 cotyledons, or even more in case of pinus. In plants like pinus, the number of cotyledons will be more than 2. Okay. Presence of 1 or 2 or more than 2 cotyledons, for example in case of pinus. Okay, so seeds are covered by the seed coat, and where it is consists of 1 or 2 or cotyledons or more than 2 cotyledons, for example in case of the pinus. Okay, and where the seed that it represents the 3 generations. The seeds will represent the 3 generations here. 3 generations. What are those three generations? Okay, for example, like the seed coat. Okay, the seed coat, that is nothing but the integument that represents the sporophytic generation, because it represents the parental plant body. Parental plant body ಇಂದನೇ ತಾನೆ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು, ಯಾವುದು ಸೀಡ್ ಕೋಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು, ಓವ್ಯೂಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿರೋದು. Hence the seed coat that represents the parental, the sporophytic generation, one generation ಆಯಿತು. The endosperm found within the ovule, that represents the gametophytic generation. ಅಂದರೆ ಆ ಸೀಡ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋಂಥ ಎಂಡೋಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಏನು ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಗೆಮೆಟೋಫೈಟಿಕ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಎರಡಾಯಿತು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ the embryo found within the seed, that represents the future sporophyte. Hence three generations were observed. One is the parental sporophyte, means the previous generation. What is that previous generation? The seed coat, the integumentary layer, that represents the parental generation, because a parental plant body indane formation ಆಗಿರೋದು. Hence it represents the parental generation. Okay, and whereas the endosperm that is found within the seed, avagale heldene, endosperm is haploid in nature and it is pre-fertilization, that represents the gametophytic generation. Whereas the embryo that is found within the seed, that represents the future sporophytic generation. Hence the seed can represent three generations, means the parental generation, the gametophytic generation and the future sporophytic generation. Okay, seed on germination that develops and gives rise to the future sporophytic plant body. Okay, hence the seed will germinate three generations. Okay, so this is all about the general characters of the gymnosperms. Plant body is sporophytic, diploid in nature, and it is differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Root is taproot system in nature, consists of symbiotic association with fungi or with the cyanobacteria. Okay, so dimorphic leaves, presence of two kinds of leaves, scaly leaves and foliage leaves, presence of vascular bundles where they are showing the secondary growth, especially in the stem. So, and another thing, absence of tracheids, absence of companion cells in phloem, tracheids in absence of trachea in case of the xylem, absence of companion cells in case of phloem. Okay, so presence of pre-fertilized endosperm. Okay, so these are all the characteristic feature of the, and presence of polyembryony, that is a common character. So these are all the characteristic features of gymnosperms. Okay, so this is all about the general characters of gymnosperms. So in next video I explain about the classification of gymnosperms, okay, and also about the life cycle of different groups of plants. Okay, thank you.